For today's art activity, we are going to be 3D printing some melting ice cream. I'm going to start by using the SculptGL app. It is actually a web-based app, so I'm going to tap it and it's going to open up in Safari. Over on the right-hand side are all the different settings. I'm going to go down to the bottom where it says Symmetry, and I'm going to unclick Symmetry. The next thing I want to do is go up to where it says Tool, and for my tool, I want to tap where it says Brush, and I want to switch it to Inflate. We are going to modify this tool just a little bit. There is a radius and an intensity setting for the tool. We want to put them both in kind of like the halfway point of the range. So I'm going to tap in the center for both of them. That looks good. Now down at the bottom, I'm going to inflate the bottom of the sphere so it looks like a scoop of melted ice cream. I just tap and go all the way around the bottom, and then it makes it puff it out. And I'm going to rotate all the way around so I can use one finger to spin the screen. And I want to try to get this as close to the bottom of the sphere as possible without going underneath of it. And I'm going to go all the way around the sphere until I have made myself a nice looking scoop of ice cream. Nice and fluffy at the bottom. Now I might want to spin it around and look at it, and if there's any spots that I don't like, I can always go back and maybe fix it. Up at the top, there is a History tab, and if you tap there, you can press the undo button if there's a spot that maybe you don't like the way it turned out, and you can just press undo, and that would be the best way to fix anything you do not like. So I'm going to redo that one spot that looked a little funny, and I'm going to go around again, making sure I like how it looks. This side could use a little bit more inflation. That looks pretty good. Remember, it is ice cream, so it's supposed to look a little weird and bumpy, like a scoop of ice cream on an ice cream cone. That looks pretty good for my scoop of ice cream. So I'm going to go up to the top where it says Files, and then I'm going to swipe down all the way to where it says Save.stl. I'm going to tap Save.stl. It's going to ask if you want to save or download. It's going to ask if you want to download, and you're going to tap Download. And once it has finished downloading, we are going to exit out of SculptGL and go into the Tinkercad app. Once you are logged into Tinkercad, you're going to come over to the right-hand side and you're going to tap plus Create and then 3D Design. Once Tinkercad has opened up, I'm going to go over to the right-hand side towards the top underneath of the falling apple, and I'm going to click the button that says Import. Then I'm going to tap Choose a File, and then I'm going to tap Choose File again. I'm going to go up to the top where it says Recents. This is where you will be able to find what you have saved. You're going to go up to the top where it says Recents. And then you will see here is the file that I just downloaded. So I'm going to tap it. It does not give me a picture preview, but it does say the time and it says what it's saved as. So I'm going to tap right here, and this should be my file. And it looks like the size looks good, so I'm going to go ahead and press the import button. Now the importing process can take a few minutes, so while I'm waiting for my file to import, I'm going to go ahead and start working on some other steps of my project. First, up at the top, I can change the name of my file. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to type in my name, and then I'm going to type in the name of my project, which is Melting Ice Cream. Once I am done naming my file, I can also go ahead and start working on the next step of the project, which is creating the puddle of melted ice cream. For this, I'm going to use the Scribble tool over here on the right-hand side. I'm going to tap the Scribble tool, and then I'm going to tap it onto my work plane. Now, down at the bottom, I'm going to use the shape drawing tool. And as large as I possibly can, I'm going to make a nice wavy blob that will be the puddle of melted ice cream. When you're finishing up that shape, try to make sure it touches so it doesn't have any weird spots. That looks pretty good. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and press done. And I'm going to go ahead and press the house over here so I can see the entire work plane. Looks like it's still working on importing, so I'm going to go ahead and start making my cone for my ice cream. So over here, I'm going to tap the purple cone, and then I'm going to tap it onto the work plane right about here. Now I'm going to change a few things about the parameters of my cone. I'm just going to make the height of it taller. So I'm going to tap that white dot, and I'm going to tap where it says 20. And instead of it being set to 20, I'm actually going to double that and set it to 40. So 40. And press OK. Now that height is taller, I'm going to go back over to where my blob is. Oh, looks like my ice cream has imported. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to tap my ice cream and I'm going to move it over a little bit. Before I mess with my ice cream scoop, I am going to go ahead and change the parameters of my puddle of ice cream. I'm going to change that height down to from 10 to 2. So go ahead and tap it and change it from 10 to 2 millimeters. And done. Everything else should be just fine. So now let's start working on building the ice cream cone. I'm going to build the ice cream cone standing up straight first, and then I'll group it all together, and then I'll rotate it upside down. So to do this, the first thing I'm going to do is tap my cone. At the top, you'll see the little rotation curves right here. You're going to tap those, and you're going to spin it all. You're going to spin it all the way around until it has gone 180 degrees. Oopsies. Try that one more time. Sometimes you have to be very careful in Tinkercad, so it's nice that there's an undo button at the top, so if you make a mistake, you can always undo it. Okay, so I flipped it upside down. That looks good. Rotate it. Now I'm going to take my scoop of ice cream, and I'm going to make it smaller. It is too big to fit on top of this tiny cone. So it has, just like the other shapes, it has different parameter boxes that you can click on. I'm going to modify all of them down to 25. The circle top of this cone should be 20 by 20 automatically. Yep, and I can check that there. So it's 20 by 20. I'm going to set this to 25 by 25 by 25 for all the parameters. So that way it's just a little bit bigger than the size of the cone. So I'm going to select just that. And one at a time, I'm going to click those white boxes. I'm going to modify all the different pieces of this. It may look a little funny at first, but I'm going to modify them all down to where they're the same, 25 by 25 by 25 by 25. Press OK. Done. Now, it should still look about the same. It may have squished it a little bit, but that's okay. It's close enough. What I'm going to do is I'm going to snap this shape up to the top of my cone using the magnet tool. So with the scoop selected, I'm going to snap it with the magnet. So I'm going to tap the magnet. There's a little white dot. I'm going to tap it, press and hold, and I'm going to drag it up on top of the ice cream cone. And you can see how it's snapped up there. Now, I'm going to let go, and I'm going to tap anywhere on the work plane is fine. The last thing I need to do is rotate this because I want to make sure that it's turned the correct direction to make it look like a scoop of ice cream on top of my cone. So I'm going to tap, and then I'm going to tap those rotating lines at the top, and I'm just going to go 90 degrees. Oops, I don't think I got it quite at 90 degrees. Let's try that one more time. There we go, close enough. Now, I can look at it. It doesn't look like it's quite lined up, so I'm going to select the cone and the scoop at the same time. So I've selected both. And I'm going to use my Align tool which is this one right here. And I'm going to align them using the dots on the bottom. So I'm going to use this middle dot, and then I'm going to use this middle dot down at the bottom. And that'll have it centered. So now that it's aligned and centered, I'm going to unselect, and I'm just going to reselect my scoop of ice cream. I want it to look like that scoop of ice cream is actually sitting on the cone. So to do that, we're going to tap this arrow. This arrow will adjust the height. So I am going to tap it and slide it down just so it looks like the ice cream is sitting right on top of that cone, and it looks really natural. So I can spin it around to kind of look at it to see if there's anything that maybe I need to adjust, but it looks pretty good from all sides. Oh yeah, that looks great. So now, because ice cream is better with 2 scoops, we're going to make a second scoop of ice cream. So I'm going to tap my ice cream, the scoop of ice cream, and I'm just going to tap up here at the top the duplicate button. Now for this, there are 2 shapes sitting there. You just can't see it because they're right on top of each other. So again, I'm going to tap this up and down arrow, and I'm going to move my second scoop up just a little bit so it looks like one is sitting right on top of the other. And it's your personal preference as to how high up you want to go with it. I like to make it look like they're kind of overlapping just a little bit. That looks really good. So now I'm going to select all the parts of my ice cream cone, both scoops and the cone. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to group them together over here by tapping the group button. This will make it easier for rotating it and manipulating it here in a second by grouping all the pieces of that shape together. That looks great. So now I just want to flip it upside down. I want to flip it so that way it's upside down and it looks like it's landing onto my puddle of melted ice cream. So I can actually use my flip tool over here. You can also use the rotation tool, but let's check out how this flip tool works. So I'm going to tap over there, those little triangles, and I'm going to zoom in because I don't quite see the arrow that I need. There it is. So I need this arrow that looks like it's up and down. I'm going to tap it, and ta-da, it has flipped it upside down. Now, when moving objects around the work plane, it can get a little tricky to figure out where things are. So I like to go to the top view. So I'm going to tap on the top view right here on the box, and then that makes it easier for me to kind of see where I'm going with my ice cream cone. So I'm going to slide it onto that nice puddle I made, and I'm going to put it towards either the left-hand side or the right-hand side. It's your choice. I'm going to put mine on the right-hand side, and then I'm going to kind of turn my viewpoint down again. Now, I want to take my ice cream cone, and I want to make it look like it's really melting into that puddle. To do that, I'm going to take this right here, the little arrow that moves it up and down, and I'm going to move it down maybe just about 5 millimeters, 4 or 5 millimeters. That looks good. It just makes it look more natural, like it's melting into the puddle. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select it and I'm going to rotate it just a little bit. Now I'm going to rotate it out to the side. Since mine's on the right, I'm going to rotate to the right so it looks like it's sticking off. So I'm going to tap there, and just 22 degrees should be enough. Now, if it moved, I might need to relocate. That looks better. Now, by putting it on one side of this puddle, the weight of your puddle over here should hopefully counteract the weight of this shape and should balance it out, and it should not fall over once it 3D prints. That's why you want to make sure you have it not centered. You want to kind of have it to one side, and then the weight of this will help balance it out. It looks really cool that way too. Now, the last thing we need to do is when we shifted down our ice cream cone, a chunk of it is now sticking beneath the work plane. We need to get rid of that. So what we have to do is take one of these transparent boxes. These are cut boxes where you can cut something. So I just need to tap it one time and tap it on my work plane. Now I need to move it down below the work plane. This box has a height of 20. So I need to move it down 20 millimeters. So now I'm going to tap that up and down arrow, and I'm going to move it so it's right at 20. You want to get it right at 20. Then I'm going to take my viewpoint and I'm going to swipe it so I can kind of see underneath of there. And I'm going to move that box so it covers the sphere. That little tiny bit of the piece of the ice cream scoop that was kind of like sticking below. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to swipe back up a little bit with the box selected. I'm also going to tap just the ice cream. And then I'm going to hit the group button. And by grouping it, that cut box will erase whatever is inside of it. And it'll make it look like it was never there to begin with. It does take a second. Be patient with it. It's rendering. That looks good. So now you can see that it is nice and smooth across the bottom there, and it is all one height. So now that I have done that and I have trimmed off that little piece of the ice cream cone that was sticking beneath of the puddle of ice cream, I am ready to go ahead and save, and then I can export to 3D print my file, and then I can color it with markers, and I am all done with my melted ice cream cone project.